Hi, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make our bulky mosaic beanie. The yarn that I will be using for this pattern is Chroma Twist Bulky weight yarn. So this is a bulky weight number 5, and I'm using the color Surfs Up and Bear. The crochet hook that you will need is a 6mm, and I'm using a streamlined swirl from Furls Crochet. You could make a yarn pom-pom or a faux fur pom-pom. I'm using a snap style, and I will show you how to attach this to the hat at the end of the video. So now I am working with hanks, so these will need to get rolled into cakes before beginning. I have a blog post and a tutorial that shows you how to do that if you've never done that before and you'd like to use this yarn. So I will link that in the description box below. And I will be showing you how to make our child size hat in today's video. I have a demonstration here on if you are using your bear as the brim color, but I really do enjoy having a little bit more color. So I'm going to be showing you working the brim in our twist, our fun twist color. So this is how the hat will look if you're starting with the twist, and this is how your pattern will look if you're starting with the bear. So you can really choose to do the pattern any way you want, but I just wanted to show you how they look a little bit different depending on which way you put the colors. If you have a ball winder, you can, it actually works out really well for your cakes, and it has a nice center pull. I'm just going to put mine into my yarn bowl. And we'll begin with a slip stitch ribbed band. So make a slip knot and put that on the hook, and then we'll begin by chaining out 7. So this is going to be a slip stitch ribbed band. Now, if you find this complicated, you can always make a regular single crochet in the back loop only band. You could do a fold over ribbed band, and I will link my worsted weight mosaic hat that you can see how I did the ribbing for that hat. So either way is fine. You'll be working the same number of rows depending on what band style you use. This one does work up fairly quickly. It's just a small band. So if you've struggled in the past with a slip stitch band, this is a bulkier weight, so it does actually go really quickly. I would just make sure that you keep your stitches loose. You're not pulling them too tight, and it will work really well for you. So let's turn our work to the side so you can see the back bump of the chain, and that's what we're going to work into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going into the second chain from the hook and going into the back bump. So what you'll do is you'll grab your yarn, pull it right through the loop on your hook. And what I really make sure I don't do is tug on it. I really just gently pull it through that loop because I want to keep that loop nice and loose. Don't want to give that extra tug tight. I just want to keep it nice and loose so it's really easy to work into as we go. You should be working across that you have 6. Then I'll chain 1 and turn. So now you can see that our stitches are nice and big to work into. And we're going into now the back loop only when we do our slip stitch. So go through the back loop only and pull it through. And I just take my time and just stay really relaxed and loose. just make sure that, and make sure your yarn is loose. You don't want that yarn tugging because it will make you tug that stitch. So just make sure your yarn is nice and loose and just pull it right through, keeping everything loose and relaxed. And this is a really good ribbing to try because it is a bigger hook and bulky yarn, and it's just a small ribbing, so it will go rather quickly. So chain one and turn, and then we're doing the same thing. We're going through the back loops only, making those slip stitches. And just keep counting, make sure that you're always doing 6. As you can see, that one's kind of snugged in there. Could easily miss that stitch if you're not counting. And it's only a 6-stitch count, so it's easy to count as you go. So I worked a little bit up here just so you can see how it's looking, and it has this beautiful knit stitch look, and when it stretches out, this is how it's going to look. So when it's on your head, it's going to stretch out, and this is the look that you're going to get. And when you pull it out, it does make it easier to count your rows. So one row will be the nice V stitches you'll see, and then the other row will be that row that's inside, which on the other side has the nice V's. Okay, so what I want you to do is work up a total of 54 rows for the child size hat. Okay, so now I've worked up my 54 rows. So let's take a look at our work. So if you look at the V stitch rows, we're going to count by 2s to make sure that we have 54. So starting right here with the first one, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54. Then what we're going to do, so I've chained one and turned after that last row to get us to the right side here. So then I'm going to take my band and I'm going to fold it up. And what we're going to do is something a little bit different. We are going to join down into this loop here rather than this, and it's going to really help our join become invisible. So what you'll do is these loops that are popping up here, we're not going to go through these ones, we're going to go down through this loop. So go through the loop, then we're going to go through the back loop only. We're going to slip stitch to join. Go through the next, and this loop is really going to pop up, so you're going to know what loop you need to go into. So there's across 6. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to flip my work, and you're going to see how nicely our seam is now blending in. Okay, this seems so small. You're going to feel like this is really, really small, but it does really stretch out. Okay, so this is the same idea with my adult. It seemed very small, but it will stretch out. So you can give that a tug, and you're going to see as we work our stitch around, it is going to change quite a bit. So now what we're going to do to work around the band to make it look really nice, I'm going to see if I can show you on this hat where we're working. we're going down our beautiful nice V's here. We're going to work down into them and through this row in between and then through that stitch. So this is how it's going to look. So here is that first foundation row that we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of tough. We're going right down into that next stitch. So you're going to want to push your hook down to go through that stitch, pull up a loop, and I really pull up my loops so that they are fairly high. So there's one. Then we need to go down in between for our stitch 2. Then we're looking at these stitches again. We're going in the one below, so not the first one, the one down. Pushing in between the V of the stitch, pulling up a loop, pulling it right up, tugging it up tall, and then going down again in between. Going down, so we're going through the V, not the first one, the second one. And it really does make this setup round look really nice. So you want to make sure as you go around that you are counting to make sure that you have your 54 stitches. So I'm just going to keep working around my ribbing to get set up for my mosaic pattern. So I've worked around 53 stitches. So 53 is ending here, and then 54 will go down in between. And this is how it will be looking. Like I say, it's going to look really small. But if you find that you would like the ribbing a little bit bigger, you can always go up a hook size, and that will just make it a little bit bigger rather than be so tight. And if you have found that your stitches are really too tight, you may need to do that. You may need to go up a hook size. And then we're going to slip stitch in the back loop only, and we're going to change over to color B, which in this case is the bear color. Now you want to pull your tails really tight because that's going to help keep the join really seamless with our pattern. And now for round 2, we'll be working in the back loops only all the way around. Now I just drop off color A because we'll be picking it back up on the next round, and work. I'm going to crochet over that tail just to save a little bit of weaving. So this round we're working in the back loop only all the way around. So once I get around, I'm going to explain how our chart works if you haven't looked at a chart before, and this is available over on the blog so you can follow along and work whatever you need to for the size you're making. So I'm going to complete working around, and then I'm going to meet you up and we'll go over the chart. Okay, so let's take a look at our chart. So when we're working the overlay mosaic crochet, we're working each round in one color. So here we have A, B, A, B, A, B, etc. all the way up. If you see a box that's blank, you're going to work a single crochet in the back loop only. If you see a box that has an X, we're going to work a drop down double crochet. So for round 2 that we just worked, we worked it all in color B in the back loop only. But if you look at the chart, you're going to see this color, the color A, is coming down over top. How we create that is by doing the drop down double crochet. So the drop down double comes down, works into the front loop of round 1, and it covers up round 2. And this is how we get this pattern. So each round is only going to be worked in alternating color, so there's no changing color throughout a round. We're picking up and dropping off the color at the slip stitch join, so there's no cutting or weaving in tails. So it is a really easy technique. This overlay mosaic crochet will create this beautiful pattern, and it works up so much easier than you think. So now we're coming to round 3. We're going to start doing these drop downs. So also I'm going to mention that the pattern is worked in multiples of 6. So I have just made the chart up to 18 stitches, but your hat's obviously bigger than this, but our repeat is 6 stitches. So you can go as small or as big as you want in that multiple. And we're repeating for the pattern rows 3 through 14, which I've highlighted on the side for you on the chart. And I've also just labeled where you will stop for each size. So again, this is over on the blog and also the written pattern. So now for our slip stitch join, we're going to be going into the first stitch and we will change color every time. Now, to troubleshoot your stitch count, you can add a stitch marker to the first stitch, and that's just going to help you make sure you're always working into the correct stitch. Make sure you're always pulling the tails tight, chaining 1 at the beginning of every round, and I find that just secures my tails when I chain 1. So now in the first 2 stitches, we're working in the back loop only. So work in the back loop and then add a stitch marker. And this is just going to help you. As you can see, there's the slip stitch. Sometimes I think people might get confused. But if you mark it, you're just going to know every round what the first stitch is. So the next one, again, we'll do another in the back loop. And then we're going to do a drop down. So you're coming down into your light color when you're dropping down. So that can always help you. So we're dropping down to 2 rows below. So here is the 3rd stitch. Below that is that loop right there. So we'll do a double crochet. You're just going to go down and work into that loop, making your double. And then we'll just repeat this pattern. So 2 in the back loop and then a drop down. Two in the back loop. And you can always just double check that you've left that stitch there, that you haven't missed and worked into the wrong one. I count down here 1, 2, and then in the 3rd is the drop down. And that repeats all the way around. So now we should be ending with a drop down because we started with 2 and we want this to really just look continuous. So if you don't end up with your drop down at the end, you know you've maybe made an error. Or maybe your stitch count is off. You really want to make sure that your stitch count is in the multiple of 6. It doesn't matter what size you're making, as long as it's a multiple of 6, you should work out as you go around. 1, 2. So this is round 3. Okay, so I've ended with my drop down double crochet, which is how we should be ending. And then I know that this is my first stitch, so this is the stitch we're slip stitching into. I'm going to remove my marker. I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to pull this yarn nice and tight, drop it off, pick up color B, pull it through, make that nice and tight, chain 1. And this time we're starting with a drop down. 1, 2, 3. So we're starting with the drop down. And I just counted back so I could see what loop it is I need to work into. It's a little snug there, that first one. Okay, and then I need to work 3 in the back loop. So there's 1, 2, 3. I'm just looking at this. I maybe could have been over a stitch on that. It's not really a big deal. What I like to do is look at my chart here so I can see that this is my drop down, and I need to be doing my back loop in the top of that drop down. Do you see how you see that? So that's how it's easy to kind of get off track if you don't look at the chart, just to kind of see where you're going. Now I know that I'm dropping down on each side of this drop down. So I do a drop down, double crochet, and then I'm doing a single crochet in the back loop and a drop down. Now I forgot to add my marker, but I can come back to that double and just add it. Okay, and then this just will repeat itself. I'll do 3 in the back loop only, and then a drop down, back loop, drop down. And again, I know that that third needs to go above this double crochet. And then I'm dropping down around the double crochet of that previous round. Okay, so I am going to keep repeating around, and if you look, we're going to be ending with a drop down and then 1 in the back loop. Okay, so just keep repeating that around and I'll meet you up again. Okay, so I'm coming to the end and I have that drop down and single crochet in the back loop, and I'll be slip stitching to join again. And changing back, of course, to A. Make it nice and tight, chain 1. And for round 5, we'll work a single crochet in the back loop, that first stitch. You can add your marker back in. Stay on track. And then we're doing a drop down, double crochet, single crochet in the back loop. Okay. And then a drop down double crochet. Then we'll do 3 in the back loop. So 1, 2, 3. And then as you see, we're coming to those 3 loops, and that's starting a shape right here. So we'll go drop down, back loop, drop down, and then 3 in the back loop. So we'll be ending here with 2 in the back loop, but I'll work around and then I'll meet you up again for that. And as you can see, starting to really open up to be much wider. And again, this is going to stretch right out to your hat size, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you're finding that this was really way too tight, then you can always go up a hook size on that band. Okay, so I finished off with 2 in the back loop. If you look at our chart, that's how you should be finishing. I'll move my marker. And we're going to slip stitch into the back loop. And chain 1. So now I've worked this through with you. I'm going to pop up how you're going to repeat. So each of the rows are going to just be repeated now, sometimes with a different color. So I'm going to pop that up for you, but I'm also just going to read it out just if you need to hear it as well. So for round 6, we'll be working with color B, repeating round 3. Round 7, with A, we will repeat round 4. round 8, with B, we will repeat round 5. Round 9, we will repeat round 3. Round 10, with B, we will repeat round 5. Round 11, with A, we will repeat round 4. Round 12, with B, we will repeat round 3. Round 13, we will repeat round 5. And round 14, we will repeat round 4. So I'll have that pop up for you. And then for the child size that we're working on, for rounds 15 through 23, we will then again repeat rounds 3 through 11. If you're following along on the chart, you can basically just follow along, and we're working all the way up to round 23 for our child size. So I'm going to go ahead and work those rounds now off camera, and then I'll meet you up for round 24, where we'll work some decreases before closing the top of the hat. Okay, so I've worked up my pattern. Now, I had you working up to round 23 for a child, but you could also do it at 21, depending on how much slouch you'd like to your hat. So I decided to stop at round 21 for this one. It really does look like a good length for a child. So depending if you want your hat to fit a little bit more snug on the head or go with a little more slouch, you can easily adjust. So for most of the sizes, I would say maybe bring it down. Like my adult, I have going up to 25, but you could do your adult at 23 rounds, so it's not as high sitting on your head. So if you want it to fit the head a little bit more snug, then you just want to reduce a couple rounds. So now, once you have reached your desired length, I'm ending with color A, and I want to make sure whatever round you end on, you want to end with your color A, because we will do the decreases in this color. So also, when you slip stitch, we're not going to be working through the back loop anymore, so you can slip stitch that right into the full stitch. And chain 1. Now we'll work a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. And then we'll do a decrease across the next 2. So a single crochet in the next 2, and then a decrease. So the decrease is go through the stitch, pull up a loop, go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pulling through all 3 loops on your hook. And you can repeat that all the way around. Okay, and you should be ending with 2 stitches. We'll work just a single crochet in those last 2 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch to join, and we can just bring in the hat at this point, or you can go ahead and do another decrease round. So we'll work the next decrease round just the same. We'll work a single crochet in the first 2 and then a decrease across the next 2. And repeat that all the way around. And this time I'm finishing with just 1 stitch. We'll slip stitch to join, and then you can fasten off the long tail for sewing. So to close the top of the hat, you can now just take your yarn needle, and then we're going to go through every other stitch all the way around the hat. Then you can just pull the top of the hat closed. And what you're going to find is you do need to do additional weaving to get the top of this hat to stay closed. So you just want to keep going through, weaving around. So we're weaving around clockwise. And then once the top of the hat stays closed, you can turn and go into the opposite direction. You'll notice as you keep weaving, the top of the hat will cinch in. This yarn needle is pretty big, so it gets caught pulling through. See how that is eventually starting to cinch in nice and tight. So you just want to weave as much as you need to just to get your hat tight, and then weave back into the opposite direction. And going in the opposite direction now is going to secure this tail. You can always go back in the other direction again as well. Just make sure it's nice and secure so your hat does not come undone. And this is how our beanie is looking. As you can see, that band really stretches out to meet the size of the hat, okay? And also it does keep, I find that the bands on hats can really stretch out if they're not small, so this just will keep its shape over time. And then what we want to do is we can add a pom-pom to the top and also a personalized garment. Okay, so to finish off the hat, I'm going to add the pom-pom to the top. So to add the snap style pom-pom, this is the piece that's already attached to the pom-pom. They come like this, and I'll have links to Amazon where you can purchase them. So what you want to do is just take this piece and sew it to the top of the hat. So I have a needle that's fine enough to fit through the hole. So this is a sewing needle, but I've been able to get the yarn onto it. And then you just go through each of the holes around. And once I've worked that all the way around, I'm just going to knot it, and then I can snap the pom-pom to the top of the hat. And then you can remove the pom-pom if you're going to wash the hat, and you don't have to worry about ruining it. Now what you want to do with these pom-poms is blow dry them, because they will come fairly smushed up, and even if after wearing the pom-pom it gets smushed or wet, you just need to blow dry it with high heat and it will fluff it right up. So just take your yarn and just knot it. You can weave the tails. I'm just going to trim to make it quick, and then you can just snap that to the top. Next, I just like to find the back, and how I've shown you to make the hat, you shouldn't even notice the seam. I can just slightly tell here where my seam is, so I'm going to put that to the back. And I'm going to attach a tag. I get my tags from brickbubble.ca, and she's put my logo on them, and you can get them in all different colors, all different sizes. So these are leather rivets that you can attach. Now they need to be hammered. You can purchase the kits, and I have a link to Amazon where you can purchase the kits. I am just going to snap. I have a tail there I have to weave. I am just going to snap that in place. So you'll want to use your kit to hammer this in place, and I can link, I have a little TikTok video that I show doing this that I can link in the comments as well if you need to see that. I can't find my kit right now, but I am going to be ordering another one soon. Now, if you have a kit, you can order just the pieces and use the kit that you have to hammer them in place. So now I just wanted to show you how the hats differ in look depending on which way you do your color. So this one is using the cream for color A, and this one the color for color A. So it gives you a little bit different look depending on how you want to do the color pattern. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.